What's up?
So, I think
I'm ready.
we'll have just a couple moments before the good folks can join us. I'm going to pull up the chat here. And I got a cup of tea brewing. You drinking anything in the morning, you man?
No, I drink nothing and I eat nothing.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I do a little fast, and then sometimes I eat if I'm going to go work out, or I try to do it, in the morning. So it really depends.
I got my sound up. You do a fast? You do like intermittent fasting kind of thing, where you don't eat until.
That. Well, I'm trying that, so
it's a big thing right now.
Yeah, so giving it a shot and see if it works. So far, it feels okay.
Nice.
Having any issue?
How long will you wait till you eat?
I mean, depends. Usually it's until lunch, so I don't eat for like at least 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's probably really good.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know if it's actually any good.
We got Kalina in the room. What is up, Kalina? How are you? Good to see you. She says she's having green tea. It's like coffee, but tea. Infinite Divide is here. What up, Infinite? He or she says, I can't trust people that don't drink coffee. Well, that's a bias you can probably work out. Mad Art in the house with a cat wave. What up, Mad Art? I don't know if I've seen you here before, but if we have, thanks for being here. If we haven't, welcome. Forrest Lamb in the Heezy. JMME, what is up? All the way from France. E-Man, I got to show you Jean-Marc's work. He does some really awesome stuff in the ArcViz side, but he also was one of the first to you take the Art Deco kit and turn it into what looked like a comic book.
Sweet.
I know.
Yeah, you definitely have to show me that.
I know graphic novels are near and dear to your heart. And we've got George A. Cox in the room. Hey, hey. And Ruben Lane, is there a reason I can't see a sub button? Right on, Ruben. Thanks for the question. We don't, as far as I know, have subscribe set up because we, because we haven't really teed it up. But there is, if you look all the way up there, there's a follow button, which I think does the same thing. Greg Simkov in the house says, what up? Steve Teeps in the room. What up, Steve? Joshua Gilbreth, how are you, buddy? Christo Crawford. Raja Nandipu says, hello, guys. J.D. Hilliard in the house. Guido Lenzo, hey, guys. Raja's never missing one. And Mad Art, yeah, I was here in the previous stream. Well, great to have you all here. And today, we are super pumped for this episode 3 of How to Be a Professional Concept Artist with not only the one and only Emmanuel Shiu. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm psyched. I'm amped. Ready to do this.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're on like 14 projects right now.
Yeah, it's a busy week for sure.
Well, tell us. I personally know how passionate you are about sharing your knowledge and being a community and fostering a community that connects with one another. But can you talk just a little bit about why doing the show is important to you?
Well, I mean, along the way, in the last 20 years, I've had a lot of help. So, it's a little, it's a way to give back a little bit more and to sort of give other people some of the information that I've learned. And I don't feel like any of that should need to be sort of a secret, or something that has to be kept to yourself. So, that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing this. But at the same time, I want to make sure that everybody who hears this, who finds it useful, that they share it with other people, not just the stream itself, but, information, they talk to each other, because, back then when we were coming up, it's never you by yourself in a corner and then you just make it. You know, you're talking to your peers, you're talking to your classmates, you're talking to people you work with, and then you're becoming better as a group. So that's really important. So I'm just kind of like, that's why on my all my posts I say, well, make sure you share, you know, and sharing means sharing the posts, sharing the information, sharing anything that has to do with this, because other people may not even know this exists. And everybody asks me about, film. Do I want to do film? Or, hey, what's the union? Things like that. And, the more you share it and the more that the information is out there, then people don't have to guess, And I find that being very important, and to foster this community. When you're sharing with other people, you're talking and you're sharing and you're, trying to help each other out to all get to the same place, So that's really why I do all this and what I would like the outcome to be, Yeah.
It's an interesting thing when you share something on social media. It says a bit about who you are and how you're spending your time. And I think when you share your work, there's this. When you find something like this, there might be a hesitation to say, "Oh man, if everyone has this knowledge, then I won't have a leg up." But I think that's the wrong way to think. I think the way to think about this is you want everyone to know who you are and what you're interested in, so that you can rise together. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, rising together is the key, because nobody is going to do it like you. Period. Because there's only one you. So if there's anything that gives you, if you call it a leg up, is your own uniqueness, and that can never be challenged. But the thing is, when you share it and you rise together, you guys will help each other become better. Sometimes it's truth-friendly competition. Sometimes it's just downright, like we're friends and we're critiquing each other and helping each other out. But I think, when you're sharing stuff, you're also fostering friendships and stuff that you never know are going to become the way they are. A good example would be like, so everybody knows John Park and they say Jonathan Bach and, people on Avatar. But, what you don't know is they all were in, I think, the same, like Ben Morrow, they're all in the same class in Art Center. And they've all helped each other grow, and they've all become working professionals on really cool projects. But it's never this like, let me hold this to the corner.
Right.
I'm not going to show you. But no, I mean, it's like, hey, look, what do you think? And, oh, hey, I don't like that. Oh, I love that. And that's the kind of thing that builds you as a person. So really important. And all those guys all know each other. They went to each other's weddings. They, they're friends, but they all came from because they were in the school together. So if you're not in our center, online is the school too. Mm-hmm. It's, you're all on the Discord channel. Fine. Talk to each other. Share. Go wherever you go. If you talk to other people, it's important, I think, to build that.
I think that is an essential part of a team, of any kind of team, and whether that be any kind of relationship, is that you bring value. And that when you find something cool, you let other people know, and then in return they do the same. And by doing that, then you build a group of people, or a network, and almost every great leader I know has talked about that, about how the group builds on itself, and by contributing is how the whole thing rises, which is the
and the funny thing is, I talked about that group with John Park and Ben Morrow, all those guys, they're helping each other get jobs. So somebody will be I'm at Paramount. We need 3 more people. Who are they going to call? Mm-hmm. They're going to call their friends, mm-hmm. who they went to school with, who if they've built this community and relationship with. They're going to call, hey, so-and-so, hey. And that's how they're all rising together. So just remember, you never do this alone. Just doesn't happen. And the more you can give, the more you'll get back.
Yeah. And I think social media is such an amazing tool that we all have now. And I think we can talk about, as we get into it a little bit later.
That will definitely be, yeah.
But I think that when you put something out about yourself, you are putting a brand impression of your personal brand to the audience. And when you let people know what you're about and what you're working on, you can stay top of mind. And when they come up and they have to pass on a job, they're thinking about you, or they know that you're out there working on your stuff or trying to learn new things, or opening their mind to cool new pieces. One thing on that I wanted to ask the audience about is on the last episode of this show, we put out the full episode, but then we also put out 3 shorter clips onto YouTube. Did anyone see those smaller clips? Do they think those were helpful? And do you have a friend that you might think those were helpful to as well? I'm really curious if anyone out there did take last month's episode and share that, or did they like what we did with them on YouTube? And while you guys answered that, I want to see. Oh, we got Mike Johnson in the house. What up, Mike? We got Tavi Jude right on. Tavi Jude says, I didn't even know concept art was a job I could do until a friend in it told me about it. There you go. And Forrest Land says, we appreciate it. It is weird that professionals don't talk about this subject enough. It's always vague information when we hear it. Super helpful. Arthur BP in the house says, what's up? Ruben Lane, right on, says Arthur. Kalina says bears, and bears eat beets. There we go. And Arthur says, speaking of friends, I was watching IMC 2018 talk with Brian Flora, and he was mentioning you a few times during the talk. Oh, right on. That's super cool. And Wander Nowhere is here. Infinite Divide says greetings, Finite Infinitus says greetings from New York. JD says he watched the pitching clip. Is ready to see how it was organized and broken up into chapters. Thanks, JD. Feel free to throw those in the Discord, which I'm sure you've already been on. JD Hilliard, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know, runs our Discord. Speaking of community, he does a fantastic job of curating all sorts of cool content and comments and different topics. So if you want to get involved more in between these weeks, engage with us on Discord. Thank you, JD, for doing that. And of course, we put these videos, they will kick to YouTube. And then we also are posting on Facebook about this ourselves, because later on in the show, we are going to do a portfolio review that we talked about last time. At the end of this, in the time in between the shows, you guys submitted some of your portfolios that we checked out all of them. Super awesome, exciting stuff. And E-Man is going to break down some cool tips and things he's learned.
Well, I'm just curious on that front, who actually posted something that's actually here. I'd be curious to know if anybody's here.
That's a great point. If you submitted a portfolio review and you are watching the show, say what up. And we are now today, we're going to continue our talk on how to be a professional concept artist in the film and games world. I'm sorry, in the traditional motion picture world.
Yeah, film for this, but it's all they all encompass each other. Yeah.
And last time we talked about the 3 stages of concept art as it pertains to a movie. We talked about the pre-production stage. We talked about the pitch stage, pre-production stage, and the post-VFX world. And today, was such a hot button issue that we didn't really get to discuss last time, is the union. So briefly, E-Man, could you tell us just what the union is?
Well, the union is called the Art Directors Guild, and what it is just it's just a union that they basically how do I best explain this? Well, let me also pull up something I have. Just want to share my screen here.
Awesome.
And this is the Art Directors Guild website, adhg.org. And the union is a lot of times when a film gets made, they go through a bargaining agreement with this Art Directors Guild, and meaning they have to hire from within the guild. So if you're working in LA or its jurisdiction area, like it's LA and its vicinity, like wherever they consider its jurisdiction, then you have to be a part of the union to work on the film. Like there's no other way. Okay, so the union itself is it's like a Screen Actors Guild. It's like all those other guilds. It's not something that you can just pay to get in. It's actually really difficult to get in. And I'll tell you my journey of getting in there, because when I first started, like freelance, I was like, okay, I want to do film. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go sign up for the guild. I'm gonna get in, and then I'm going to work on films. Right? That's what I'm gonna do. And I go and find out that, oh my God, okay, I can't do that. So people are calling me and say, okay, hey, we like your stuff. I think it was Transformers was one of the films. I like your stuff. Are you in the union? And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not in the union. Never heard from them again. And that happened so many times that I was like really seriously discouraged. And back then, the union was very strict. It said, okay, you had to be a part, of the union. Otherwise, you can't work on this. No matter where you are, doesn't matter. You're not union, you can't work on it. And as the years have gone by, they have softened up a bit they added different clauses. If you're not within the area, there's leeway, all this kind of stuff. So for me, it was just like years of people going, oh, you're not in the union? Bye. And, I said, okay, well, what's it going to take to get on this thing? And so the union, so I'm just going to lay it out really quickly. It's actually, they just revamped their site. So if you're seeing the screen, they actually have a how to join. I just saw this today. This just went live like yesterday or something. And so, you guys can obviously go in here, to go look at, what it is, and you would fall under the illustrator, storyboard artist, and matte artist, area. But I will just tell it to you guys right now. And basically what it is, so there are a couple ways to get in. The first, the easiest way is if your movie, let's say it's a small movie, and you're doing some early pitch art, and it turns into pre-production, kind of turns into it, and then they have they make a bargaining agreement with the union, because now it's turned into a pre-production phase, which involves the union. Okay, so now that's pretty much you get grandfathered in, right? So your show is not union and it goes union while you're on it. You get grandfathered in, you get lucky, you're happy, and that's it. That's it. But you have to work 30 days. And that's, that 30 days can be non-consecutive, but it has to be within a year. So you have to work 30 days.
So let's walk me through that one more time. If you're on the pitch of a show and it goes union and you worked 30 days on it, your grandfather.
No. So let's say you're working on it and they tell you, hey, it's gone union. So you have to work on the show as union for 30 days before becoming a permanent member.
So once the show goes union, 30 days after that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one way, which normally doesn't happen anymore, because most films you work on are going to be bigger studios that already have bargaining agreements. So they're already union the moment it starts up. So, okay, that's one way. So another way would be what they kept telling me, oh, you can try an off-roster hire, meaning you're not on the hiring list in the union, right? You're not on the roster because you're not part of the union. So you're what they call an off-roster hire. So what they need to do is the art director or production designer needs to call basically everybody in the union that's under your category, and they need to say, well, everybody's not working, so we need to hire this guy. basically, that also never really happens because nobody wants to go through the trouble to call everybody just to, and other people aren't working, and you have to prove why. It's just a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've asked for that, the AD, the art director, is like, "Are you crazy? I'm not doing that." I mean, I had one time when he was like, this was on Guardians, the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, "Please, can you help?" And he was like, "Just to explain to you what I have to do this." And even then, it may not work because it's just you're kind of submitting it to the Art Directors Guild, and they might just say, "Hey, well, the guy over there is not working, so why don't you hire him? Hire our members. Why hire this guy over here? Now you got to prove why, So the AD just told me, and he's like, "It's a lot of work." And just to be completely honest, I don't think we're gonna go through that.
And this was to make you an off-roster hire before you were part of the union.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get me onto the off-roster hire, then I'll be working on the union show, and then the 30 days start, so I can do the 30-day thing. But the problem is, they're not going to go through that trouble, and I don't think I've known anybody who's gone on a show as a off-roster hire. But it is something that's here. I think I saw it here somewhere, but I mean it's on here, so just look through it. I mean, there's information here,
and to do that, you have to have some kind of skill that is so out of the realm of the ordinary that they can't justify.
Yeah, I guess you could. I guguess that would be the way. And I kept going. Okay, well, I'm a matte painter / concept artist. I have I spun it into this thing. They weren't buying.
Yeah,
they didn't buy it. So there's that. There's also commercials. You can go through commercials, but it's harder because commercials are really short.
And it's hard
hard to gain your 30 days.
Right. Because it has to be 30 days on one project?
No, it can be 30 days on, from what I know. Now, this is all things that I've learned through the years. Now, things can change, and I might be, always check your facts.
Right.
But I'm just giving you general information. From what I know, is 30 days on any show.
Yeah, it's important to remind the audience that email.
But I don't think you can mix commercial and film I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
If you can mix I had 2 days commercial and 28 days film, whether you can just kind of combine, I'm not sure.
Right, because so to remind the audience, E-Man is not our Directors Guild rep. He just knows the ins and outs, and
and I want to just tell people my experience, right? Just what I went through, and I don't want anybody to feel like. This is like fact,
right?
And and I'll just third way. So 1, 2, 3. Third way is they've implemented this sort of what they call a superstar clause or director's pick, whatever you want to say. But basically, it's one per show. One person, no questions asked, they can get in. No questions asked. One per show. So that's how I got in. I got, I honestly, I was like, I had been trying to get in for 4 or 5 years. And I said, you know what? Forget it. This is just and I was burning out. I was taking a break, and I got a call one day. I was just going to dinner, and it's this guy named Tom, and he's Tom Meyer, and he's a production designer. He says, "Hey, I actually, I want you to work with me on Thor." And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not in the union, so yeah, we'll just say goodbye now. I was really bitter, I was just like, whatever. And he was like, "No, okay, yeah, we'll get you in." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me," because I've been trying to get in for 5 years. I've been talking to directors. I've been giving really cheap rates sometimes trying to get in. Don't do that. I've been, just trying every way I knew. And it just wasn't working.
And even at this point, I mean, you had worked on tons of huge projects. Yeah,
so at that point, how I got to work on a lot of these projects is through the VFX side. because the VFX side doesn't require you to be part of a union, right? It's only the pre-production side, when it goes through the union, that they need you to become a member. But when it becomes, visual effects house, you can work for the visual effects house. So that's not a problem.
Not covered by the union because it's not an art director; it's a VFX.
He's a visual effects supervisor. You follow the structure of that company. It's a whole different company, basically.
Right.
And so so you can always do concept art that way, and I always recommend that. That's sort of a good way to break in because you actually get a lot of experience. But for me, I wanted to work on the pre-production side of it.
Yeah.
And so he calls and he says, hey, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because I don't believe him because I've heard this a million times.
Mm-hmm.
But he came through. And the story of this one is funny because so when we're going through, doing this thing, so I'm like counting my days. Mm-hmm. Every day I'm counting it. Because it's from the day they submit your paperwork. It's not from the day you work. But, you can retroactive that. But for me, it was like, okay, from this day. So I'm like, okay, 20 days, 21 days. And then Tom left the show. So I was like...
On day 21?
I think on day 25.
Oh. Uh-huh.
He leaves the show. And I'm like, no. I'm just like... what's going to happen now? Because, normally if your production designer leaves the show, the crew pretty much is gone too.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, oh, no. So I'm like scrambling and emailing the producer and saying, please, 5 more days.
Uh-huh.
I'll do anything. I'll wash the toilets, whatever. And they were cool because he said, I get it. It's 5 more days. And on... a week later, I was let go. But I got it.
But you got it, yeah. Amazing.
No, they literally gave me 5 more days and said goodbye. Because the new production designer came in with their crew.
A couple really cool key takeaways there, but I think it comes down to people. In the end, there are these structures, and ADG is a perfect example of a big team. That which is a union of a group of people that have said, hey, we're going to only work under certain standards, and we're going to have a governing body that can do that, and we will all represent that group. And then another person, Tom, takes you in and says, hey, I can get you in. I want you here on Thor, and then gets you 25 days of your 30. And then you have to appeal after Tom leaves and a new PD comes in. You have to appeal to the producers, and they probably because you had a strong relationship with them already. Heard.
Well, I actually think that producer was just nice enough to be honest with you, and I got a shout out to Tom who actually made this happen for me because. I've been trying for years and years, and you get a lot of promises and a lot of sort of empty promises, because everybody's, yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. And it's always a problem. So that is the third way, which is that sort of superstar clause, whatever, that's what they're calling it, director's pick, whatever. It's basically 1 per show. And my advice for that is, be good enough. Really is no other way, because if your work is stellar and somebody really wants you, you will get a random phone call, and they will want you enough to say, I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
But it has to be that your work is strong enough. That there's just no other way.
Mm-hmm.
And
that you put yourself out there. You
have to. You can't be the best artist in the world and not show anything and expect someone to call you. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But that's also part of this whole community thing, because you're sharing your work with other people, you're critiquing, helping each other out, but you're also sharing it so that people can see it, and where people are seeing it. Okay, a couple reasons and ways why a production designer or art director will call you is because your work is that strong that they want you. It's unique, whatever, it's strong. So they want you. Or somebody recommended you.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody recommends you, it could be because you're part of a community that people know of you, and your work is strong. Why wouldn't they recommend you? So you got to be out there. And even then, your work could be strong. I mean, wouldn't consider my work to be weak. Let's just say it was decent, but I was sitting there going 4 or 5 years going, I don't know what's going on here. And I'm like, I'm trying hard, but nothing, so, but a lot of empty promises.
Yeah.
A lot of, hey, spec work. No spec work. I don't want to do that. So, just be careful. Just be equipped with information so that when people call you, you know what the hell this is all about, if this is what you want.
Yeah.
Right? But you need to know that there is such a thing. You can't just go work on a film and go, But this is where, it's become looser, where outside of the union jurisdiction, you really don't need to be in the union. So if you're in Poland, or if you're in any, wherever, outside of their jurisdiction, you can be hired on the pre-production side with no issues. So you can do that. The problem is some of these studios are like, we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to deal with getting in trouble with the union. We don't know where the line is. We don't want to deal with it. So sometimes you get that.
So, but if you work in Poland on pre-production, those days don't count towards becoming?
No, then you will be, usually if you're working on pre-production and you're not part of the union, a lot of times studios will find a way. You're not part of the jurisdiction, so they can legit hire you as a consultant, not as an illustrator or something. They could hire you as a consultant. They could hire you, in a myriad of different positions and roles, and it won't matter. And then you can work on it. But you won't be getting union hours. You won't be part of the union. And, here's where, okay, people might be going, well, union, okay, so let's you work on film. So what's so good about it? So, like you said, unions, they fight for you, for your, sort of well-being, your rights, your salary, your working conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You get a pension. You get insurance, health insurance. So those are two. If you make your hours.
Yeah.
Eman,
I know everyone wants to talk about salary and stuff, and I'd really love to jump to that, but I just do want to point out one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Droki has joined the chat. What up, Mike?
Congrats on the baby, man.
Mike has, please, everyone join us in congratulating Mr. Golden for welcoming in himself to fatherhood and a new baby boy to the world. So please, everyone, give some high fives to Droki. Thanks for joining us, man. I wonder, you got a little baby on your knee right now? Man, so cool. Mike and Arthur in there. Yes. So cool. Bringing another one into the world. Good for you, Mike. And thank you for stepping in here with us, man. Super cool. Okay, E-Man. So yeah, while we're in the celebration mode, let's talk about money.
Okay, let me just finish by saying, okay, those are the things you can get from the union, right? Health insurance, pension. It's not a small thing, right? The pension goes towards your retirement. Health insurance, it's good insurance and it's free.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's great. When you first get in, there's an initiation fee. That's pretty hefty. I think about $8,000.
Yeah.
And then there are quarterly dues, a couple $100 quarterly dues. I mean, it sounds like, oh my God, 8,000, that's a lot. But it actually isn't for what you get in the long term.
Because it lets you into a threshold and a standard that you have all of these protections to help you in so many different ways.
Protection, insurance, for me, because, I'm disabled, so the insurance is awesome for me. So I'm always trying to scramble to make hours. Mm-hmm. And hours just means you have to make 400 hours every half a year. right? That's not a lot. That equates to probably like 2 months of working.
Right.
2-3 months out of half a year, you have to work on union shows
in order to maintain your
to maintain the status of the insurance and stuff. If you don't make it, it doesn't mean you get kicked out. It just means that you have no insurance and you have to pay COBRA or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it's why it's a big part of unions doing for me is really good. And I have to say that during the years that I've been trying to get in, I've called them endlessly, and they've been extremely, extremely helpful. They want to help you, but they also know that it's very difficult. So they're trying to say, hey, try this, try that, but there's only so much you can do to get in. Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah.
So salaries is, honestly, it's very straightforward and simple. I was looking it up, and I couldn't actually find a salary range, but there is what they call scale salary, which is what, let's say, a junior illustrator, a senior illustrator, what they get paid, right? A day rate of X. I couldn't find that. I was trying to, but I couldn't find it. But usually, at this point, a lot of people are paying above scale anyway. So it's not really matter. But I'll just give you a range.
Yeah.
So the range from at the low end, and there needs to be some quick talk about this, is a lot of studios will try to get you in the union, and they'll say to you, oh, but you just got in, so we want you at, like you're junior when you're actually a senior, and we'll pay you $400 a day. And people are like, oh yeah, I get to get in the union, yeah, 400, no problem. So what you don't understand is, okay, you go in at 400. Now you're going, okay, I finished my show. I'm on the next show. The next show is going to say, hey, what did you make in your previous show? And you go, 400. And they're like, all right, we're not giving any raises. You're making 400 on this show. So before you know it, 3 years later, you're making 400 still.
Right. You've established your rate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the rate. And until you find a show that's like, they don't really care. They're kind of, and you'll find shows that are a little bit more like, oh my God, we just need people. Oh, whatever. What's your rate? Whatever. Fine. They won't even check. So, and I caution people to go in at too low a rate. Not that can't change. I'm just saying I would caution that. So be careful. But if, this is your one chance, you go in at 400, it's better than not going in at all. It depends, on, you and, a lot of circumstances.
Right.
So, but I want to say that from a junior to a, like, say, super senior, I'd say 600 a day to, I think you can max out at like 1,200 a day. So that's, I know, is a pretty big range, but also know that the guy who's making 1,200 a day, he's the first guy to go. Right, because it's too expensive. But but they'll need a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time. But usually the guy that's falling in the mid range will stay on the show for as long as the show goes, which usually can be from a month to 8 months, a year. So it depends on the show. But that kind of a range you can expect. I would say if you're a junior, around 6. At the bottom range of that, if you really are a junior. But juniors are going to be hard to get in, right? I mean, think about it. If you're really junior, who's going to really want to get you in?
It's a really interesting conversation that the chat is engaged with as well, because I think there's so many things, as Forrest Lamb says, the catch-22, because you want to get in, you want the protection and the teamwork of the union, but so you want to take the rate you can to get in, but then you also have to hold yourself to a standard, because that may maintain for you for a long time, keeping your rate the same. So there's got to be a balance, and at certain points in your career, you're going to have to make key decisions for yourself about
Exactly. I mean, there are. This all comes to a point where you have to ask yourself, in all fairness, what you think your work is worth, right? I mean, because it's like you're selling a print at a gallery. I mean, you could say it's worth 50. You could say it's worth 50,000. Where do you think you're worth? If someone offers you to get into the union and say, "Hey, look, you're at 500 a day," when you've worked in the industry for 10 years already. And you are a senior person, then you kind of have to fight for that. And I've seen people fight for it and get it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's 500. They offer you and say, no, I'm senior because I've done all this, and you meet in the middle. It's negotiating tactics. I mean, how bad do they want you? You have to. A lot of things you have to understand. Like, who's fighting for you? Is it the PD who wants you and they're fighting for you, and it's just a producer who's fighting back? If that's the case, you may have a little leeway. Like, it depends on who's fighting. If it's the director, maybe you have even more leeway. So you kind of have to look at it. And, this is where, like, I'm lucky because I made a lot of these sort of, again, this community where you go, guys, I got this thing, but I'm getting screwed. What should I do? And you have actually people to talk to. Right?
Yeah.
So now I'm part of this community with you guys. So, if I jump on Discord and someone's asking me, "Hey, man, I just got a call today," and I would chime in and give you my thoughts too. So this is where, I mean, when I had this, I didn't really have too much of a problem on the salary side. I actually had more problems getting them to start me on that 30-day thing. Everybody will run into their own little problems, but I think you have to be careful of going in too low. That's would be my thing, because a lot of people are banking on the fact that you want to get in so bad that you'd come in at peanuts.
Right.
That shouldn't be the case. That's actually not cool,
And you have to make decisions for yourself about what standard of living do you want, and what job perks do you seek, and at what point what is your day worth. And if you have developed a network and a working set of structures for yourself that you can afford to lose the job, then negotiate for it.
And another thing to really keep in mind is when it comes to getting into the art director's guild is they will at some point, even when they start initiating your process, they'll want to know what makes you special. Like, have you won any awards? Has there been articles written about you? So the next time someone asks to write an article about you or to do a tutorial or whatever, something that gets you exposures to show that you are good, do it. Because, they ask me, they go, well, can you put together, because you're saying you want to be a senior, you want to have a rate as a senior illustrator. So senior illustrators, not, images are subjective.
Yeah.
So what are your accomplishments to back up that you are senior? So now I'm like, okay, I won that award, but it's just some bullshit, web award, but yay, it's something.
Right.
It's something. And so for anybody out there right now who's like, like I'm up and coming, but like I'm not going to enter that, or I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to write that article or whatever. Do it, because the more you do, the more you can say, hey, look at these are my achievements and accomplishments, and people are like, oh yeah, okay, look at that.
I think that's got to be part of the the freelancer manifesto is take the opportunities that you can and hustle, finding new things for yourself, and don't treat the downtime as time to relax. Treat it as more opportunity to further your career, and finding new ways and opportunities like you just described are a crucial way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the chat right now, and Geek at Play said, sadly, this world is not about how good you are, it's who you know. So I mean, I saw this, I want to address it because it is about how good you are. And it is also about who you know. I don't want this jaded view of it. Yeah. It's just who you know.
Right.
I don't want that, because I want you guys to know that your hard work will come across. It will show. And, if you're willing to be, sort of a reasonable person working, and people like working with you, it will happen for you. It's just that you have to be focused on making your work good. So, because I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, well, it's just, who you know. And I'm like, can't blame that on that. You also have to look at your work. And I've told people like, hey, look, your work isn't good enough. It's not about who even if you knew the right person, they couldn't hire you.
Right.
So just get your work tight. Forget about who you know, who you don't know. Just get it tight. Meet people as fate happens, and it will happen for you.
And what if we could frame that in our heads as not being a bad thing? What if we could, we could sit around and wish the world were different. Or we could say, hey, all this means is if I'm doing great work and no one knows about it, I'm not going to get hired. And so then instead of saying, oh man, it sucks, I don't know anybody, say, oh, I now know what a key part of this is. I have to let people know who I am. And if people can see my work and
exactly, and it's always, but just keep that positive outlook, because a lot of people get very jaded in this field. And I can see how it's easy to do that, because, there's moments when I'm like, God damn it. But, it's okay. Like, do the best work you do. Put your head down, do the best work you do. Meet people, let people know, see where the chips, where they fall. It will work out. But I think it's important to just keep that, like, excitement for what you do. Otherwise, your work's going to show you're jaded. Really, it is. It's funny how that is,
I think, positivity is just absolutely everything. Droki has a really good point. He says, at the same time, if someone can say they know you and they like working with you because you have a good work ethic and you deliver on in time, those are really valuable skills and qualities that don't shine through your work. And Geek at Play comes back and says, my point was to get more networking, not just sit in the basement and just work on your skills, be in a community.
That is exactly what we're talking about. And, I just wanted to take that opportunity, because for Geek at Play, that probably isn't what he meant, but I've heard so many people just go, it's networking. He sucks, and, he just knows people.
Yep.
Yeah, not always. I just say, forget what other people are doing. Just do the best work you do.
Yeah,
that's
it. There are two or many parts to the game, and getting to know people and be part of groups and showcasing and having the courage to put yourself out there is part of every game, I think. Or every business.
I just want to step in real quick. Joe just was saying about, meeting people and, putting yourself on the line is actually really true. The cooler the kind of person you are, the easier it is for people to recommend you. I mean, we're talking everybody's at the same level now, right? Everybody's doing good art. But the more professional you are, the more easy to work with you are, makes people want to recommend you, right? And that is really important, because I was a supervisor before, and, before that job, I was like the matte painter, and I was a pain in the ass. I mean, we're talking, this was 15 years ago, and, somebody talked about Brian Flora, so he hired me, to be a matte painter. He was a supervisor, and I made his life, difficult, because I was younger and I was a little bit of an ass, and I was just like, why do I have to do that? And why do we have to do that? And it was just, and always kind of second guessing your supervisor. And when I became a supervisor, I was like, oh my God. And then I had a crew, and some of them were questioning, just like I was. And I was like, okay, now I get it. Make yourself easy to work with, because those are the people. And this is not really networking. This is just being a cool guy. Just, you're following the lead of somebody. Do the best work you can. Be professional. Put in your hard work. And people will recommend you, because you guys are all about the same level. I mean, when you get to a certain level, everybody can do the same kind of work. It's just who's cool to work with. And that's really important to me.
That's such a huge point, I think, is that, at the end of the day, it's about how do we want to spend our time. And if you've made this hyper ambitious choice to work in movies, and you've decided that's what you want, you're talking about one of the most competitive fields on planet Earth. And so, no one is entitled to just get to jump in, or even if you're doing fantastic work, you got to do all the pieces of it. And Joki's got some great rules for success. He says, do awesome work, and number 2, don't be a dick. I think.
I just wanted to really quickly chime in real quick 1 second on gender, because I received the email before saying, this field is very male predominant. We know that, but I'm seeing a lot more sort of females coming in, and I'm actually trying to get on the show with a female production designer. So everything I say, please, I'm not used to saying the he, she kind of thing. I'm very I just talk, So for any females listening, I'm going to try to make it more sort of, both.
Yeah.
It's about both genders. It's not about one particular gender.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we're so used to just all men.
Yeah.
But now it's definitely needs to change. And it is changing. It is changing. So I just wanted to put that out there, just so that I'm aware, and I'm trying to make it more like he, she kind of thing.
And Kalina, speaking in the chat here, is a fantastic female artist, and she brings up a good point that a lot of females are working in stylized films at Pixar and Disney. That's super true. Tons of
in animation that's a lot more, mm-hmm. But in live action it's still a lot less, like production designers and but it's changing. So
yeah. I totally agree, and it's been really cool to see a bunch of female artists come be posting work in the 3D world over this last year. I think there is a movement towards more and more female artists getting in, but it's awesome.
Absolutely, yes.
We are super slim on time, and I want to make sure that we get to at least begin maybe some portfolio review process here, Eman.
I think that's pretty much the union. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'll review it really quick. The union is and check me, make sure I have these details right, Eman. The union is a group that can offer you some really great perks, teamwork, and help you raise your standards in your work if you get in. And there are sort of 3 crucial ways to get in. You can be grandfathered in. You can be on the superstar clause, where there's 1 per show. That if you put your work out there and you meet the right PD or art director, and they want you on your show, they can get 1 per show in. What's the 3rd way, Eman?
The off-roster hire.
Yes.
Which it's on their site. You can research it now. You can, if you ever have any questions, call them. They're more than willing to talk to you and to let you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
So, it's always there. I got to say, they've been really gracious with me, and very willing to help. So, this is just a basic primer on what it is, mm-hmm. so that people understand that, if you're in LA, so just know that if you're LA working on a lot or something, you have to be union. You cannot not be union there. It's in their jurisdiction. You have to be union. Just so you know. Okay. Anyway.
And this, though it is an extremely hyper competitive thing, there are ways to do this. And if you learn the systems and you on top of being a great artist, you become a business person, because that is what you are if you want to be in business for yourself. And being an artist is one of the toughest things to do both. You have the ability to do it. And taking some of these little tips that Eman's given us today are the key to putting your work out there and getting seen and getting in and raising your standard as you go, because you all have the ability to do it if you choose to become a real business person or be a business person like you are, on top of being a fantastic artist. And you all have the ability to achieve anything that you choose to if you get hyper focused on it and you go after it. So let's take a look at some portfolios, Eman, and let's take a look at how some of these artists are already putting themselves out there, and what more can they do.
Sure. We can just run through. I have a bunch up, so I'm just going to run through. I put a couple up that I thought could benefit from a little bit of quick, I mean, this is just going to be some quick initial reactions and tips. So it's not going to be any in-depth, review. But I guess his name is Romy.
Romy, yeah, I think.
Volantino.
Romy.
And so, when I look at something like this, I see some good work that grabs me, but I see a lot of really different work. Like just off the bat, like not even clicking into it, right? So right off the bat, I'm like, wow, okay, I don't know what he does. It's just, there's so many different things that I think that needs to be, for me, I think there needs to be a lot more coherent subject matter, because, you've got this cartoony kid, and then, but at the same time, you've got this really sort of dark, like I would keep things more consistent so that if I was here to hire you, I would be like, oh, well, this guy does this. Like, it has to be clear, but when you look at this, I'm not sure what he does. And in that case, that means you're doing a lot of different things and not sharpening that one knife that you really need to sharpen.
What do you say to someone, Eman, who says, well, I can do so many things and I have, there's so many different things I want to do. I don't want to be just pigeonholed into one.
I would say that it's not about pigeonholed into one thing, but if you want to be hired, let's put it this way. If you want to do an Olympic sport, you cannot do 5 different Olympic sports and expect yourself to be the best at 5 of them. You have to, at some point, say, these things sing. Because people want to hire the best. They don't want to hire the okay. They want to hire the best guy in that one thing. So you're going to have to kind of say, okay, well, I like 3 things, but I like this one the most. So I'm going to sharpen that knife.
Right.
Then I'll sharpen this knife. Then all of it is consistent, right? But it's just different subject matters, in which case you can group things here. And this is where you can use, for everybody involved, use ArtStation for what it can do. So what I mean is, so this is another person, Christopher Johnson's ArtStation. So when you look, you go, okay, I personally don't like the fact that you're doing 4 subsections and I don't even really get to see anything, because most people don't make it past this point, right? They don't make it past the thumbnail point. So an example would be, let's just say, I just kind of did mine. So I'll just say, okay, so this is all the images I like the best out of my stuff. But if you want to go see Thor stuff, you can go here. If you want to see Blade Runner, you can go here. Right? But as soon as they get in, they see this. They're greeted with the stuff I think I do best. It's
a really good point, considering how much work you've done. It's shocking to see how brief your portfolio is.
Well, I mean, this will get you hired right here. The clicking in is just a matter of confirmation, right? So when you go back to his site, you're like, all right, now I'm going to click one more time to go figure out what it is. That's okay, but I would say, why not put everything here so you can see your selects and then put categories, because you can do that in ArtStation. Put your categories, and then people will click in those categories if they want to discover more.
And it seems like a little thing to ask for one more click, but if you're hiring, how many portfolios are you looking at a time? One more click takes, ads.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, oh man, okay, I don't want to do that, and when you hear, at least I see right away, okay, he does this, that, okay, so like say this guy right here, so if he says, hey, I want to do, I mean, these are caricatures, so I think maybe 3D, 2D, I'm not sure, but it's consistent. I know what I'm getting if I want to hire this guy. But is he targeting what he wants? Probably, because it's very consistent. Right? But he has an odd thing here and there that he throws in. I mean, But I think, you look at it, you go, okay, he's a character artist.
Right.
If I want that style, I can hire this guy.
And it's when making a decision to hire someone, you're taking a risk, because you have to say, hey, based on what you've already done, I know you can achieve this next thing.
Exactly. And these are, sort of, so when they go through this, they go, okay, just remember, nobody's looking at your stuff full res, unless they're looking on the wall, and either way, they're clicking on your thumbnail, and they're going to go, okay, I'm going to pick that.
Right.
And I'm going to look at it. So, without getting too specific, like I think like some of this stuff, this is just a quick tip, when you're doing tutorials on things, and obviously this is Von Ling's tutorial. I've seen it. You can't, it's really hard to use that for your portfolio. Just so you know, so people out there know, it's like, try to make it your own. Because there's going to be 10 of these corridors that look the same. People are going to, because it's the tutorial.
Right.
Right? So make it your own. Make it your own and do something with it so that, but I mean, otherwise, it's like I'm not getting real specific right now on anybody's work. I'm just talking about general strategies, because I think getting specific is going to take time.
Yeah.
But, I've seen some really great portfolios being put in. Like, this is where it's like, okay, well, this guy what does he do? Landscapes and fantasy scapes. So, if I wanted to hire him, if I hire people to do that, this is strong work, it's right there, and, nobody, I don't think recruiters give a crap about, followers and likes, and they don't care about any of that. They don't care how many, what your numbers are, but they do care about the work. And, sometimes a production designer might just easily be here in the main page going, oh, well, I've got some time to kill. And they go, oh, I like that image. And they'll click and they go, oh, I like this guy. I've never seen him before. I mean, that's happened to me many times where they don't even know who the hell I am. And then they just go, whoa, that looked okay. So that means you got to post regularly. Right. Because if you don't post regularly, you're not going to show up on this. There's just no way. So you have to post regularly, and you will get seen at some point. Of course, this is Hebron.
Hebron.
He put his. You remember Hebron, right?
Oh yeah, Hebron Goose.
I mean, his stuff is great. So I mean, I'm not. He has no issues. Super consistent portfolio. And he shows like a lot of processing and all this kind of stuff. This is. I mean, he's a good example of what you should do. I mean, there's no question what he does. It doesn't mean that he's just going to narrow himself to one thing, but he's saying, I do mostly landscapes, architecture design, sci-fi design, but I also do some character work. So he's telling you right there with his portfolio that he does this. So you might be like a PD going, oh, that looks great. Oh, well, hey, that looks great. Okay, all right, cool. He's strong there here, and then he has some supporting skills. Great, I can hire him. Versus, going back to this, you kind of going, yeah, I'm not quite sure. There's everything. Like, there's every genre in here. So, and I think, he just has to pick something and go for it. And then go to the next thing. So that would be my big thing. I mean, there's all this. I don't know how far over you want to go.
Well, I definitely want to be respectful of your time, and thank you for going a little over time here with us. I think we can pick up on this on the next one too. And I think as we go through this whole show, talking about portfolios will be a consistent conversation that we have, because it's such a huge element.
So, I mean, I just saw what Drokus wrote, and I completely agree. If you're going to do a portfolio, too many pieces is a big issue. Always a big issue. And you should have no weak images, because people are hiring you.
Right.
It's like saying, well, hire me as a cook, but I'm going to have a crappy tasting dish.
Right.
At the end for you. You'll ruin the whole experience. You can't do that. So I'd rather you have 3 pieces, and then the PD goes, "Hey, I love your stuff. Do you have more?"
Right.
Versus, "Oh my God, what was that?"
Or just here's everything. I think if we look at your portfolio again, it's a really good reference for, there's not so much work here, but it's all very specific. It tells me, or it tells whoever is looking to hire you, something very specific about what they would be getting. And I think,
and remember, this is what I want to do. I'm putting images here that I want to do. So it's important, because if you put, let's say these images all are things that I don't want to do,
right?
And people think they are going to hire me to do that, I'm going to be miserable. So put stuff that you dig.
And I think this is a really hard thing to get over. As an artist, we want to feel like we're so multifaceted. But when you make your art a business, you have to think of it as a brand, and it's a tricky part that the name of that brand is your actual name. And if you can dissociate,
and I'm looking at some of these comments, and there's a guy who says, well, if you post too much, if you post a lot, then there's just too much stuff. But then this is why know your platform. This is ArtStation. So look, I have a tab that says all. So I put all. And I have tons of crap in here. And it's just like, but this is, you need to post regularly. So filter them all into a sketches folder or something. Dailies, whatever you want to call it. But when they come to your site, this is what they see. This strategy, right? This is what they see. They see like 20 of my best images. And then the rest of the stuff that I post every day go into sketches. Go into whatever. I filter them into other, I'll have like sketches, okay, this is not a big selection of sketches, but like, I don't want a PD to look at my study, that I painted. I mean, he doesn't care. You also have to target your audience, right? If you want production designers and art directors and film directors to look at your stuff and go, I want that guy for my film, then make your stuff cinematic. If you want someone to look at your stuff to be in an animation field and to tell stories, then tell stories. But you can't, you have to target who you want. I mean, that's just researching, like, I want to work for these kinds of people, and I'm going to make work that's going to speak to them and to me. And then see where that falls. But if you want to do animation, Pixar, and I've got a portfolio like this, no one's going to hire me. They can be like, "Oh my God, get out of here!"
I think
what's wrong with you?
getting specific about what you want is such a crucial part about getting it. I think you will get from the world what you put out there and what you say you require. And what you say you are setting yourself out to do. And so the more specific you can be with what you want, the more hyper focused and not deviate from that path, the better shot you're going to have at.
So just a quick thing, Greg's got a website. I actually think it's good to have a website. Simple website's great because it makes you feel more professional, right? You can do that with ArtStation. You can have a website through there. But, ArtStation, you can be discovered there. But having a website's always good. All right? Just so you guys know. Very clear and concise. Environments, boom, environments. You get good sense. No questions. You know who he is. Keyframes, I've looked at it, so same, right? This is a person that can be hired. So, like, I would be like, okay, I know what he does. And the PD digs it or he doesn't. But if he digs it, it's clear. It's not like all over the place. You know what I mean? So I think it's, this is exactly the kind of portfolio you kind of want. I mean, I may even try to tone it down a little bit, just really keep it to your best piece. Like what Droka said, never have a weak piece. Like if one piece is like, if everything you do is a 10 that you think is a 10, if you have an 8, don't put it out there. Don't put it out there. because then you're just shooting yourself. And of course, lead with your best image, end with your best. Like 2 best images, start and end. It's just basic portfolio strategy because people are looking. They want to bookend it now. Oh, best image. Oh, awesome, cool. He's really good. Confirmed. Hire him. It's really like that.
That's a great note.
Yeah.
Could we look at one more? Could we look at Ruben Lane's there because Ruben's in the room with us?
Lane. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So yeah, I mean, this is again straightforward. Kind of see where he's going with it. Environment person. I mean, that's clear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, specifics. I'd have to really take a look here. What is this? A website?
Yeah.
I mean, I would. Let's really take a look. No, I like this. Showing process is good. I like showing process. It shows your thinking process. I like that. I think it's a really good thing to include. I would really be careful, how you present that. And also always questioning yourself whether you really have done, like strong work. Because sometimes, if it's not a very good sketch, I won't show it. It just depends, like if it's going to confuse people. I really actually like this image, which is, I'm not quite sure why it's down here, but I really like it. I actually might like it more than this. I mean, and we can actually get into like the image and why and all that, but that's going to take time. I mean, Do you want to take time to do that?
Today, I feel like the best thing to do is stick on the presentation of it and the business side of it, obviously, because
I think this is clear what this guy does. What Ruben does is clear, mm-hmm. and I would say this is not too little, but I probably like if this is a portfolio, I wouldn't end it with this. This wouldn't be what I would end it with. Like he has better images that he could. Like I would, end it with this maybe, something a little bit more indicative of his skills. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people like to include a lot of like sketches and stuff, but it's like what jokers say: don't show your weak points. And I'm not trying to tell you to lie. I'm just saying show your best points.
Yeah.
Because your weak points, and you're trying to make them better, but you don't need to, because if I was to sell all my weak points, I don't think anybody would hire me.
Right.
So you have to kind of go for this is what I'm really good at, mm-hmm. and other stuff we'll see, but I wouldn't like this I wouldn't include in here. But as a whole, I think it reads as what he does. I can tell the image already if I have interest. So, I think it's successful that way. Mm-hmm. Are there things you can do in particular for those images to be better? Yes. But that's a more specific, mm-hmm. Feedback.
Yeah, I think for presentation and for showing where you want to go, I think this is a really rad start and a really great place for us to conclude our show today.
And thanks for everybody for submitting. I mean, it's hard putting your work out there and having somebody say stuff about it. And I'm not. I guess I'm not the most. Like, oh, that's great. I'm always just. I want to get to the heart of it. I want to help you with what I think is an issue. So don't excuse me if I don't. Like overly. I'm just not the kind of overly praise guy. I mean, I just want to get to the problem so you can fix it
and know that E-Man wouldn't have showcased your work here if it wasn't impressive and if it didn't catch his eye. And so to take his notes and know that he's just trying to help everyone bring their work to the next wherever that might be. BNQP has a great quote in the chat. He says, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Really, I think that's really at the heart of this thing is you guys know what it is that you want. You wouldn't be spending the time here with us to grow your professional skills if you weren't serious about taking your work to the next level, wherever that is. And I think we've gotten some really crucial key points here from Eman. Today, we learned a lot about the union, and we talked a lot about how do we be better business people? How do we even though it's not the reason we got into art was not because we were dying to be salespeople, but it's part of the game if you want to run your own business. And I think next week on the show we can talk about the ever ongoing question about freelance versus in-house, as well as getting on to our next overall topic, which I won't ruin the surprise, but look out for on social media. There will be an update for that for next month. But if you're going to go after this hyper competitive world with one of the great careers out there to be a world builder, take the business side of it as seriously as you take the art, and put yourself out there and have the courage to take risks, have the courage to get feedback. Reach out on social media to those people you're excited to talk to. When you do it, make sure your portfolio is as good as you could possibly have it. If it's not there already, keep building. Take your free time. Use those extra nighttime hours or weekend hours to build another piece into your portfolio and expand who you are as an artist and a business person. And then any of your goals or dreams are there for you if you put in the time and the effort and you give it positive belief and go for it.
Can I say one thing?
Please, yeah. Would you stop screen sharing so we can see your face?
So I just want to say one thing about just doing art like this. Like if you're doing stuff like this, a lot of people are doing it in a vacuum. They're doing it at home. They're doing it maybe without having been to school. Or don't know a lot of people who they can check in with. But what you can always do is so let's see here. Is that how I spell his name? So this is James Pack, and he does a lot of stuff like that. So I want to say, know who the people that you admire in the industry is. Know who they are. Like that's your job to know. These are the people that are going to get your job, right? So you want to get up to that level so that you guys can be on an even ground and work together, right? So if you look at this guy's work, look at James's work and say, hey, that's what I was going for. So take that and put it up against your own stuff and go, what is or isn't hitting it? Why is mine not looking right and his is looking great? Where the hell did it go? There you go. It's just as an example, but you get my idea. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people ask me, how do I improve? I don't know how, Look, there's you need to know who the people you like are, mm-hmm. and then look at and compare your images and go, hey, doesn't look like his. Why not? And what the hell's wrong with it? And in time, you'll figure it out, and you'll learn that lesson, and it'll go with you on every image you make. But when you keep staring at your own image, you won't see it. Mm. So that is one strategy that I just want to leave with, that people can go, hey, look, if you don't have a class, this is your class. People have done it for you already, and there's so many tutorials out there. James has talked so many times out there. You can find videos of him giving those secrets. He has Gumroads. Same for a lot of other people. So go and figure it out, because you can do it. So anyway, that's my spiel.
Outstanding advice, and I think a great place to leave off for where we'll pick up next time. Find role models, model the greats, go straight up to the top and set your goals really high.
Awesome.
E-Man, would you stop screen sharing so we can see your face one more time before we go?
My face?
Your face!
Are you sure you want to see my face?
as always, thank you so much for spending the time here with us. Your wisdom and years of fantastic experience is so greatly appreciated by me, and I know the whole community. Thank you for spending this time with us. We can't wait.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Well, everyone, this episode will be up on our YouTube and Facebook pretty soon. You also have the other episodes that you can go pick up. You can also share them, as Eman was talking about in the beginning, how important it is to share your work. And a big reason why he's doing this with us is because he wants to help the entire concept art community grow their work and seek to aspire to the next level. So share out the episodes if you can, and we will see y'all here again. We will be back next week. Just an update. Next week, our video game Sleep Tight releases into the world.
Yeah.
So we will have stay updated with our Facebook as well as our email list. We're going to be doing a special Sleep Tight event next week on Thursday. On Wednesday into Thursday, we're doing a slumber party. More updates on that, but it will be live streamed. And then we will be on the Discord as always and on social media. Keep up with us. If you do not already follow E-Man on Instagram, connect with him on Facebook too. We are so lucky to get to spend this time with you, E-Man. So everyone out there, have a wonderful day. E-Man, you as well. Talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. See you guys in a month.